Spoiler alert, Season 2 of House of the Dragon ends with some unexpected narrative decisions that foreshadow a lot more bloodshed and violence in Season 3. The Season 2 finale is the culmination of a series of episodes that have brought twists and turns on both sides and the true beginning of the Targaryen Civil War, also known as the Dance of the Dragons. As the ending makes clear, the war is only getting started. The Season 2 finale of House of the Dragon has a lot going on. Even though it may not be as violent or stunning as Aemond Targaryen killing Lucerys Velaryon in the show's first denouement. On Dragonstone, Rhaenyra Targaryen and Alicent Hightower reconcile. Daemon Targaryen sees Daenerys Targaryen and subsequently returns to Rhaenyra. King Aegon II Targaryen is smuggled out of King's Landing by Larys Strong, and armies from all around Westeros are advancing toward battle. There is a lot to consider and plenty to look forward to in Season 3 of House of the Dragon.
There will be no mercy! We fight for our queen!
Welcome to Movie Spy. The third season of House of the Dragon will have serious repercussions. Like with so much of the narrative, Rhaenyra and Alicent are at the center of House of the Dragon Season 2's conclusion. In a reversal of their first encounter in Season 2, Episode 3, Alicent now goes to Rhaenyra in an attempt to discover a way ahead that reduces the amount of bloodshed. In response, Rhaenyra declares that it is too late.
It's too late.
It is a moving scene that demonstrates why they are the cornerstone of the plot of the program and will have a significant impact moving forward. Why does Alicent allow Rhaenyra to kill Aegon, and does it actually happen? At first, Alicent believes Rhaenyra will capture King's Landing and spare her kids, with the exception of Aemond, whom she now knows cannot be stopped from his current course.
If I am to take the throne, I must put an end to the opposition.
But Rhaenyra realizes that killing King Aegon is necessary before she can be genuinely acknowledged as queen by everyone.
I must take Aegon's head.
And Alicent grudgingly but startlingly agrees. She is essentially powerless because Rhaenyra and her army will attempt to murder Aegon no matter what. However, the fact that she does give in shows how far Alicent has sunk. Despite her misguided belief that she should have helped launch this war to place her son on the Iron Throne, she is now frantic to save not just herself, but also her daughter, Helena. Aegon is a tragic character who, in many respects, is a victim of his upbringing, but he is also capable of extreme violence. If Alicent has to choose between risking all their suffering and dying or letting him die, while saving the genuinely good and innocent Helena and maybe Daeron as well, she will take the former option. Alicent has always made an effort to prioritize her responsibilities, persuading herself that she was acting morally by appealing to concepts of honor, justice, and virtue. Alicent can no longer perform the duty that would best serve her king. She must now take off her cloak. She decides to follow the road of liberty and, more significantly, to put her daughter ahead of her son, the one who is least deserving of suffering against the one who has contributed significantly to it. This is the one chance Alicent has to defend the things that are important to her and maybe even save her own life. The novel, at least, claims that Rhaenyra kills Aegon, which is the sole issue. As in Fire and Blood, he has been smuggled out of the city by Larys Strong without Alicent knowing it. Thus, when Rhaenyra travels to the capital, he will not be present, and she will not receive the son for a son payment that she is demanding.
A son for a son.
The reasons Rhaenyra cannot accept Alicent and how Season 1 is reversed. In addition to approving Rhaenyra's killing of Aegon, Alicent makes an unexpected request. She asks her old friend to accompany her on her departure. They have completely changed from who they were before. Rhaenyra, the one who feels she must stick to the path her father, and she feels the God's plan, and Alicent, the rebellious one who longs for the freedom she has been denied forever. It is reminiscent of the opening scene in House of the Dragon, where Rhaenyra informs her friend. It is a wise choice, as Rhaenyra and Alicent have always been opposites, but best friends who may have followed the same route if circumstances had been somewhat different. Although Alicent had long envied Rhaenyra's independence, Rhaenyra herself desired authority, which she also held as Viserys' queen. A poetic conclusion to this chapter of their individual experiences is that now each is receiving what they had long desired from the other, but at a tremendous sacrifice. This is further supported by the way filmmaker Gita V. Patel frames the last shots, which include very accurate mirror images. Alicent appears from the side first, followed by Rhaenyra from the other side, as if they are turning to face each other. The episode concludes with a similar view of Alicent, looking out over the water with a sense of liberation, while Rhaenyra is framed from a distance as though through bars, confined by her duty and quest for power. Of course, the old Rhaenyra has mostly disappeared. She still exists. She has a higher purpose. But there is a spark in her face that indicates she thinks about it, or at least wants she could. In the last episodes of Season 2, Rhaenyra has been growing more and more of a god complex. She has been witnessing bastards burn and dragons roar all in her name, which has contributed to her belief that she is the only one with a divine right to govern. Much like a religious cult leader, she is now on that path, and she will not stray from it. How does Rhaenyra respond to King's Landing, and what befalls Alicent? Rhaenyra does seize control of King's Landing, according to Fire and Blood, and this is now highly likely to occur in House of the Dragon Season 3. After a brief but terrible struggle for the city, Adam, Daemon, and Rhaenyra are supposed to have descended upon their dragons. At that moment, Alicent concedes that Rhaenyra now owns the city, but she also forewarns her that Aemond will come to exact revenge and that she will not be able to hold on to it for long. Of course, that makes a big difference in the show. It should be mentioned that Rhaenyra and Alicent have a larger age difference in the book, and were never the close friends they were in the television series. After King's Landing falls, Rhaenyra becomes Alicent, and Helaena is taken prisoner. Tragically, Helaena ends her own life, leaving Alicent a prisoner in King's Landing. It remains to be seen if this will occur in the show because Alicent is more gladly allowing Rhaenyra to capture the city. But if it doesn't, it will be a significant departure that fundamentally alters Alicent's destiny. An explanation of King Aegon's and Larys Strong's future after leaving King's Landing. Larys Strong intends to bring Aegon to Essos so he can heal until Rhaenyra and Aemond have destroyed each other while they wait for their turn. Subsequently, Aegon can triumphantly return as the Realm's Delight, a moniker that was originally assigned to Rhaenyra when she was younger. The fact that Aegon yearned for love similar to that of his half-sister despite having greater aspirations for the future than Essos says everything about how tragic he is. Aegon finally finds his way to Dragonstone in the book, but not before his kids are taken off to live with other people. On the island, the king succeeds in persuading a few surviving members of Team Black to assist him in seizing power, including Sir Alfred Broom, who, in the end, betrays Rhaenyra in favor of Daemon. Baela Targaryen, who had stayed on Dragonstone, and her dragon Mundenser engage in combat with Aegon and his dragon, Sunfire. Mundenser is killed by Aegon and Sunfire. Baela escapes and is taken to the dungeons, but the king suffers serious injuries after landing on his own dragon, breaking both of his legs in the process. Helaena may have given away what would happen to Aegon when she declared, "The last ring has no legs at all," holding a bug in her hand during Season 1. Regarding Larys, his departure alongside Aegon is not consistent with Fire and Blood. In the novel, he stays behind even though he makes arrangements for the king to leave King's Landing safely. Throughout Rhaenyra's reign, he spends his time plotting the queen's downfall by disseminating rumors and lies. It is hard to predict his arc for Season 3 now that he is going with Aegon instead, although the show might be playing it more slowly and making more adjustments before Aegon arrives at Dragonstone. The visions of Daemon Targaryen and his reason for bowing down to Rhaenyra. Dany, a White Walker, and Bloodriven are among Daemon's visions. Throughout House of the Dragon Season 2, Daemon Targaryen has experienced a number of visions at Harrenhal, but the most significant one was kept until last. As Daemon touches the weirwood tree, prompting him to do so because it bears George R.R. Martin's face, Ali's Rivers gives him a vision of the future of the Targaryen family in Game of Thrones. It culminates with Daemon bending the knee to Rhaenyra and has a number of significant characters and surprises. The three-eyed raven is Brynden Rivers, also known as Bloodraven. A guy with a birthmark on his cheek who resembles Targaryen appears to Daemon first in his vision, followed by a raven. In essence, this proves that Brynden Rivers, often known as Bloodraven, is the three-eyed raven from Game of Thrones. The bastard son of King Aegon Roman IV Targaryen, Brynden, is born about 45 years after the events of House of the Dragon Season 2. His birthmark on his cheek, which is said to resemble a raven and also reveals his identity in the vision, is the source of his nickname. An essential aspect of Targaryen history is Brynden. A verified scoundrel, he participates in several uprisings, axes hand to two distinct Targaryen races Aerys I and Meekar I, and is ultimately banished to the Wall, where he assumes the role of Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. When Bran Stark meets the three-eyed crow, the show altered it to Raven. He vanishes and does not appear again. But there are hints that point to his true identity, such as him telling Mirror Reed that he is or was Brynden. It was never made apparent whether or not the three-eyed raven seen in Game of Thrones was meant to be Bloodraven, because the show never truly dug into the character's identity in nearly the same way. That being said, Daemon's vision makes no doubt about it, and the raven itself essentially attests to it. Of course, how Brynden turns into the three-eyed raven is another story. The character is included in the Dunk and Egg stories that will be adapted for the planned Game of Thrones spin-off, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, so maybe an answer might be found there in the future. The White Walkers and their association in reference to Aegon's dream. The army of the dead is then shown in Daemon's vision, led by a White Walker who, to be honest, resembles what you would get if you ordered the Night King from Wish. It is uncertain if this is meant to be the Night King. He does not quite look like him, but the way the picture is presented with him commanding the army would seem to imply that it is. In any case, it is a blatant sign of what is ahead for Westeros and a reminder of the prophecy found in Aegon, the Conqueror's Song of Ice and Fire. It is sufficient to persuade Daemon that the prophecy was accurate and that the North truly poses a threat. For viewers, it serves as a reminder of what happens in Game of Thrones after the House of the Dragon. That despite all the wrangling for the Iron Throne, a unification of Westeros is ultimately necessary. The White Walker's hair seems to resemble Targaryen hair, which makes it interesting. Although walkers have been seen with hair in the past, the Night King was not a Targaryen. Therefore, it appears that this choice was made on purpose to establish a connection to the Dragon House. What causes that to be the case? Given that this is Daemon's vision, it might be warning him that he will bring about this catastrophe if he does not aid Rhaenyra. On the other hand, it might be a broader statement about the errors made by House Targaryen and how their internal strife ultimately leads to their own destruction. The Targaryen dynasty will fall and Aegon's dream will be dashed because of the Targaryens themselves. They have actually weakened it, motivated by a prophecy that requires a united kingdom. Daemon's vision, what Daenerys Targaryen means. Daemon then reveals Daenerys Targaryen in his vision, which is the biggest surprise of the finale. This scene follows the events of the first season of Game of Thrones, where she emerges with 3 newly hatched dragons from Khal Drogo's burial pyre. The only way we see Daenerys is from behind, sitting on the ground, probably to hide the fact that Emilia Clarke is not playing the part. The possible origin of Daenerys dragon eggs was originally revealed by the House of the Dragon, which stated that Rhaenyra and Rhaena sent them to the Vale. Daemon sees those dragon eggs in his vision. Rhaenyra had stated that they represented House Targaryen's future, and now Daemon is actually experiencing that future. This appears to be proving Daenerys is the prince that was promised, since it follows the White Walker and was preceded by a red comet, a symbol of the prince that was promised in the novel.